I just found out my wife secretly up our $1.2 million inheritance and put my parents' house and $300, $0, into her sister's name without telling me. Now we're headed to court over everything, and I don't know who's more betrayed. I never thought I'd be the guy telling a story like this, but here I am. The craziest thing just happened, and I need to get it off my chest. Honestly, I still can't wrap my head around how everything went from normal to completely falling apart in just a few weeks. The wild part, it all started with my wife, Jessica, acting just a little off, like she was hiding something. I didn't think much of it at first, but then I found out she was cheating on me, and on top of that, she was stealing money right under my nose. Yeah, I know, it sounds like a soap opera, but this is real life. Let me give you some background. Jessica and I have been married for about 7 years. We met in college, hit it off pretty quickly, and built what I thought was a solid life together. I work in finance, and she's a stay-at-home mom. For our two kids, Lily and Max, we had a pretty good routine, nothing too fancy but enough to keep us happy, or so I thought. We were planning to buy a house in the suburbs, maybe upgrade a little but nothing too crazy. We also recently inherited a decent chunk of money, about $1.2 million from my parents' estate after they passed away last year. It was a huge blessing, and we had plans to invest it wisely, maybe pay off some debts and save for the kids' futures. But things started changing about 3 months ago. Jessica started acting distant, more secretive. She'd go out with friends, but I'd notice she'd come back late, smelling like perfume I didn't recognize. She'd get defensive if I asked about her whereabouts, brushing it off as work dinners or girls' night out. She'd also become more controlling about the money, asking why I was investing so much in stocks and bonds, stuff she claimed she didn't understand. She insisted we keep the inheritance in a joint account, but I noticed she was secretly divvying things up. I caught her transferring money into her sister's account, claiming she was helping out. Turns out she was putting my parents' house and $300, $0 into her sister's name without telling me. She lied about it, said it was for family reasons, but I had this gut feeling she was hiding something. Then came the biggest shock. I was going through some bank statements one night just trying to make sense of everything, and I saw a transfer I didn't recognize. It was for $50, $0, sent to a private account with no clear purpose. I looked up the account details, and what do you know? It was linked to a guy named Mike, her from the marketing firm she's been working with secretly. I'd seen her texting him late at night, laughing, sharing memes, but I never thought they'd be more than friends. Turns out they've been sneaking around for months. I found messages where she was talking about how much she needed him and how she hated lying to me but couldn't help it. That was the moment I realized I'd been blind all along. The worst part. When I confronted her, she didn't deny it at first. She just looked at me, smirked, and said, "You're overreacting. It's just sex. And it doesn't mean anything." She called me paranoid, accused me of not trusting her, and then started throwing all these lies about how she was just lonely and needed someone to talk to. She insisted she still loved me, but I could see the hate in her eyes, like she was just waiting for the right moment to cut me loose. I was furious, hurt, and completely betrayed. How could she do this? How could she lie about money, about her feelings, about everything? I felt like I was living in a nightmare I couldn't wake up from. That night I couldn't sleep. I kept replaying everything, her sneaking around, her lies, the money she stole, the affair. I thought about our kids, about the life we built, and how she could just toss it all away like it was nothing. I was angry, but mostly I felt devastated. I trusted her more than anyone, and now I wasn't sure I knew who she really was. I kept asking myself, how long has this been going on? Was I blind? Did I miss all the signs? The betrayal cut deep, but what hurt even more was realizing how much I'd been played for a fool. Next, I started planning what to do. I knew I had to confront her again, but I also needed to get proof. I installed some discreet recording devices, checked her phone when she wasn't looking, and even hired a private investigator just to see if I could find out what else she was hiding. I wasn't going to let her get away with this without a fight. At the same time, I had to figure out how to deal with the money mess. Her putting my parents' house and $300, $0 into her sister's name without my approval. It was a mess I never imagined I'd be caught in. Honestly, I don't know what's worse, the fact that she cheated or that she stole from our family. I feel like I've lost everything I cared about. My trust, my peace of mind, my marriage. I don't even recognize the woman I married anymore. And now I'm stuck in this whirlwind of legal battles, betrayal, and heartbreak. I thought I knew her. I thought we had a good life. Turns out she was hiding a whole different world from me. I just don't know what to do next. After the initial shock wore off, I started digging deeper into everything. I couldn't just sit around and process. I had to act. The more I uncovered, the clearer it became that Jessica had been playing me from the start. I found text messages, emails, and bank transfers that confirmed she'd been planning this for months. The money she upped, the house she transferred into her sister's name. She'd done all of it behind my back, all while pretending everything was fine. She told her friends she was just helping family, but I saw through the lies now. She was sneaking around, cheating on me and stealing from us at the same time. One day, I decided I had enough evidence. I sat her down, told her I knew everything, and demanded she come clean. Her reaction was nothing short of infuriating. She looked at me with that bitchy smirk and said, "Oh, so you're finally catching on. Big deal, it's just sex," and I was bored. "You work too much, you're never around. Mike is better in bed anyway." That's when I lost it. I told her I knew about her affair with Mike, that I had proof, texts, bank transfers, everything. She just rolled her eyes and said, "You're crazy, you're overreacting, it's not a big deal." I couldn't believe how she was justifying everything. She lied so easily, like she thought I was stupid. She kept insisting she loved me, that she was only with Mike because I was so busy, that none of it mattered. But I knew better. I could see it in her eyes. She hated me, hated the life we built, hated that I was catching her. I felt a mixture of rage and heartbreak, and I knew I had to do something about it. I couldn't just let her walk all over me, not after everything. I started planning my revenge, not just to hurt her, but to make her see what she'd lost. I wanted her to feel the pain of betrayal like I did. I knew I had leverage, her affair, her theft, her lies. I also had access to her phone, her emails, and the evidence I'd collected. I decided I'd confront her publicly, make her realize I wasn't going to be some pushover. I also contacted a lawyer to see what legal options I had, especially concerning the house and the inheritance money she'd secretly transferred. I wanted her to know I was serious. This wasn't just about cheating, it was about her stealing from us, betraying everything we'd built. One night, I set up a plan. I invited her to a talk, pretending I just wanted to discuss the future of our marriage. When she arrived, I played her the recordings of her talking to Mike, the messages about the money, all of it. Her face twisted in anger and panic. She tried to deny everything, but I had her dead to rights. I told her I was going to court to get the house back, to get my money, and to expose her for the lying, cheating wife she'd become. I wanted her to feel the weight of her actions, to see that I wasn't going to let her destroy us without consequences. The fallout was immediate. Jessica went ballistic, screaming, crying, pleading. She said she was sorry, that she loved me, that she didn't mean for any of this to happen. But I didn't buy it. Her apologies felt hollow, like she was just trying to save her ass. I told her she had to leave the house, that I was filing for divorce and custody of the kids. I also contacted the bank and the lawyer to freeze her accounts and start the legal process to undo her transfers. I was done playing nice. She had crossed too many lines, and I was ready to fight for what was mine. In the days that followed, I felt a strange mixture of relief and emptiness. I knew I had to move on, but the betrayal cut so deep. I kept thinking about the times I trusted her, the nights we spent dreaming about our future, how she'd lied to my face every step of the way. I also wondered what her next move would be. Would she try to fight me in court? Would she try to turn the kids against me? The uncertainty was terrible, but I was determined to stand my ground. I'd fight for my rights, for my sanity, and for the little family I still wanted to save, if it was even possible anymore. I started spending more time with friends and family, trying to process everything. I hired a private investigator to keep tabs on her, just to see if she'd try to run or hide anything else. I also began gathering more evidence, just in case I needed it in court. The whole thing was a nightmare, but it was also a wake-up call. I realized I'd been too trusting, too blind to what was happening right under my nose. But now I was awake. Now I was ready to fight back, no matter how ugly it got. I never thought I'd find myself in this position, but here I am, standing my ground, trying to reclaim what's left of my life. Once I had the initial confrontation behind me, I knew I couldn't just sit around feeling sorry for myself. That's not how I operate. I started pulling together every piece of evidence I had, screenshots, bank statements, recordings, and I set my plan into motion. Jessica's reaction had been predictable. She was furious, crying, begging, promising she'd change, but I knew better. I wasn't trusting her anymore. Not after all the lies. I decided I needed to take control of the situation legally and financially before she could do any more damage. The first step was hiring a lawyer. I found a good one, someone who specialized in divorce and financial disputes. We went over all the evidence, and I explained everything: her affair, the money she'd secretly transferred, the house she put into her sister's name. The lawyer told me I had a strong case to reclaim the house and the inheritance money, especially since I was the primary heir and co-owner of the property. The fact that she'd lied about the transfers and used my inheritance as her own piggy bank was a clear violation of our agreement and the law. While waiting for the legal process to kick off, I also started examining my options for revenge, mostly to make her realize she couldn't just get away with everything. I knew I couldn't undo her betrayal, but I could make her pay in some way. I arranged to have her phone hacked, just enough to see if she was talking to other guys besides Mike. Turns out, she had a few more secret contacts, some old flames she'd kept in touch with for years. It was more than I bargained for, but I couldn't ignore it. The truth was right there, plain as day. Jessica, of course, caught wind of what I was doing. She went into full-blown panic mode, trying to guilt me into stopping. She told me how much she loved me, how she'd do anything to fix things, but I wasn't buying her crocodile tears anymore. I knew she was just trying to manipulate me to keep her grip on the situation. She was bitchy, demanding, and still lying about her whereabouts. She kept insisting she'd never cheat, that the texts and calls were innocent, that I was just being paranoid. But I knew better. I had seen enough to know she was lying through her teeth. I also made a few calls to some of her friends, people she trusted, people who knew about her affair but kept quiet. I wanted to see if I could get some insight into her mindset. Most of them seemed surprised, but not entirely shocked. Jessica had a way of hiding her true self behind a pretty face and a charming smile. I learned that she'd been controlling, manipulative, and downright cruel to some of her friends behind the scenes. It was like peeling back layers of an onion. Every new fact made me more certain I was better off without her. Meanwhile, I continued to push forward with the legal side of things. I filed for divorce, demanded full custody of the kids, and made sure the court was aware of her financial misconduct. The house, the inheritance, the money she'd stolen, everything was on the table. I also the bank to freeze her accounts, just in case she tried to move or hide any more assets. It was a tense waiting game, but I knew I had to be patient. Justice takes time, and I wasn't going to let her slip away with everything she'd stolen. Jessica, on her end, was trying to spin her narrative. She told anyone who would listen that I was crazy, that I'd lost it over her affair, that I was just jealous and controlling. She painted herself as the victim, poor Jessica, betrayed and misunderstood. She even accused me of cheating, which was laughable considering I'd been so focused on her. I didn't bother arguing. I knew her game. Her bitchy attitude, her lies, her manipulations, they all just confirmed I was better off without her. But the thing that really pushed me over the edge was discovering she'd been secretly talking to her sister about the whole mess. I found texts where she was venting about me, calling me paranoid and insecure, saying she was done with this marriage. That was the moment I realized she'd been planning her escape for a while. She was more committed to her lies and her affair than to her family. That realization woke something in me: anger, determination, a resolve I didn't know I had. I also started documenting everything: photos, recordings, copies of her messages. I knew I might need it in court. I wanted to make sure I had a solid case, and I wasn't going to let her manipulate her way out of this. I couldn't believe how much damage she'd done, using my inheritance, cheating, lying, and now trying to turn everyone against me. I felt betrayed on every level, but I also felt a strange sense of clarity. This was the end of the line for us. I had to cut the cord for my sake and the kids. At the same time, I was trying to keep my emotions in check. I was angry, yes, but also sad. I kept remembering the good times, the moments when I thought we were happy. It's funny how quickly things can change. One day you're planning your future and the next you're fighting to save what's left of your life. I knew I had to stay strong, not just for myself but for the kids. I didn't want them to see me broken, even though inside I was a wreck. I was doing my best to stay composed, to keep everything together, even as my world was crashing down around me. So now I'm in the thick of it, lawyers, evidence, court dates, you name it. Jessica's still bitchy, still lying, still trying to manipulate her way out of this mess, but I see through her now. I've learned a lot about trust, betrayal, and how money can ruin even the best relationships. I don't know how this is going to end, but I do know one thing. I'm done being the naive guy who thought I knew her. I'm ready to fight for what's mine, for my dignity, and for my kids' future. And somehow I hope that in the end I come out stronger. The legal process is slower than I thought. It's like watching paint dry, but every day feels like a new assault on my patience. While I wait for court, hearings, and official rulings, I keep going over everything in my head, trying to piece together how I got here, how I was so blind for so long. Jessica's actions, her lies, her betrayal, they all keep replaying in my mind. I can't help but feel a mixture of anger and disappointment. How could she do this? How could she so casually destroy our marriage and steal from our family? It's like she was playing a game, and I was just the fool who never saw the cards she was holding. Meanwhile, she's still bitchy, still lying, still trying to manipulate everyone around her. I've caught her in so many little lies now that I've lost count. She insists she's innocent, that I'm just jealous or paranoid, but her words don't match her actions anymore. Her tone's always sharp, dismissive, like she's angry at the world for catching her. She's trying to spin her story, painting herself as the victim, trying to make everyone believe she was just bored or lonely. But I see through it. Her attitude screams guilt, frustration, and maybe even panic. I've started documenting her behavior more carefully, taking screenshots of her messages, recording her calls when I can, keeping track of her movements. I want to have everything ready when the court date comes. I know Jessica's not going down without a fight, and I need to be prepared. I also hired a private investigator to keep tabs on her whereabouts. Turns out she's been sneaking around even more, meeting with Mike, seeing other guys, and trying to hide her tracks better. That last part really pushed me. If she's willing to lie and cheat on me, what else is she hiding? I don't trust her anymore, not in the slightest. One thing I didn't expect was how much her attitude would change now that she's feeling cornered. She's more bitchy than ever, snapping at me over small things, refusing to admit any fault. She's trying to turn the kids against me, telling them I'm not a good dad, that I'm too strict, or that I do love them enough. It's disgusting how she weaponizes her motherhood to try to manipulate the situation. I've had to stay calm in front of the kids, but inside I'm boiling. I want to scream at her, tell her to stop poisoning their minds, but I know that would only make things worse. The thing that really got to me was when she accused me of cheating. She said I was the one sneaking around, that I was hiding some secret life. That was the final straw. I've never cheated, never even thought about it. But her words sting because it's like she's trying to justify her own actions by accusing me. It's classic projection. I knew she was trying to turn everyone against me, her family, her friends, even the court. But I also knew I needed to stay focused, keep my evidence tight, and let the facts do the talking. I also started reaching out to some of her friends, the ones she confided in, to get a better picture of her behavior. Most of them are surprised, but a few aren't. They've told me Jessica's always been manipulative, controlling, and quick to lie when it suited her. Some say she's been like this for years, just better at hiding it. Hearing that made me realize I'd been blinded for longer than I thought. I always thought we had a good, honest relationship. Turns out she's been wearing a mask for a long time. The money situation is also becoming more complicated. I found out she's been diverting funds into her sister's account just like I suspected. I can't believe I was so naive, thinking the inheritance was safe, that she'd be honest. Now I see she was planning her escape all along. The house she put into her sister's name, that's a huge problem. It's legally complicated, but I've hired a property lawyer to challenge the transfer. I want that house back, and I want her to pay for every penny she stole. She's trying to hide assets, but I have the evidence and I won't let her win this. I also discovered she's been talking to her sister about the whole mess. I found messages where Jessica was venting about me, calling me crazy, insecure, and controlling. That was another punch to the gut. I always thought I was doing my best, being supportive and caring. But she's been trashing me behind my back, trying to justify her actions. It's clear she's more interested in saving herself than fixing our marriage. That realization stings, but it also fuels my resolve to see this through. I've come to accept that I can't change her and I can't undo her betrayal. All I can do is protect myself, my kids, and my future. I've started preparing emotionally for the court battles ahead, knowing that Jessica will do everything she can to manipulate the system and turn people against me. I've also been talking to a therapist, just to keep my head clear and manage the anger and sadness. It's not easy. Some nights I lie awake, wondering how I let this happen, how I didn't see the signs earlier. But I also know I have no choice but to move forward. The hardest part is facing the fact that I might lose everything I thought was mine, my marriage, my family, the inheritance. But I'm determined not to let her take my dignity or my future. I want to rebuild, even if it's just for me and the kids. I learned a lot about trust, lies, and greed in these past few weeks, and I've realized how fragile everything can be when you're not paying attention. But I also learned that I'm stronger than I thought. That's what keeps me going, even when the nights are long and the weight of betrayal feels unbearable. I won't stop fighting for what's rightfully mine. The court date is set, and I won't lie. Every day leading up to it feels like walking through a minefield. Jessica's been more bitchy than ever, throwing tantrums, trying to spin her lies, and accusing me of all kinds of stuff she's clearly guilty of. She's still insisting she's innocent, still claiming I'm paranoid and controlling, but I see right through her. Every snide comment, every dismissive look just confirms she's desperate. She knows she's backed into a corner and her true colors are showing more than ever. I've been preparing my case meticulously. All the evidence I've gathered, her secret texts, bank transfers, recordings, the legal documents challenging her ownership of the house, everything is organized and ready. I've also hired a forensic accountant to dig into her finances, to find any hidden assets she might be trying to shield. It's brutal, but I need to be thorough. I can't let her manipulate her way out of this. I've also been talking to my lawyer about how to handle her attempts at character assassination. She's been trying to paint me as the villain, saying I'm controlling, possessive, and untrustworthy. It's classic deflection, and I have to stay composed. Jessica's behavior is getting worse. She's trying to turn the kids against me, telling them I'm mean and not fun anymore, all because I stand my ground. It's heartbreaking to see her weaponize motherhood like that, but I refuse to let her win. I've been spending extra time with Lily and Max, showing them love and reassurance. I want them to see the truth, that I'm doing this for their future, not because I want to fight with their mother. It's a delicate balance, but I know I can't let her poison their minds with her lies. On top of all that, I caught her talking on the phone with her sister again, trashing me behind my back. That was a real eye-opener. She was saying I was crazy, possessive, and abusive, which is so far from the truth. I've always been supportive and caring, and this whole mess is just her way of deflecting her guilt. It made me realize she's willing to do anything to save herself, even if it means destroying our family. I've got recordings of her conversations, and I plan to use them in court if needed. The biggest challenge right now is her trying to hide assets. She's been very secretive about her bank accounts, claiming she's just taking a break, but I know better. I've hired investigators to look into her finances, and they've found some suspicious activity. Accounts she's opened under fake names, offshore accounts, and even some shell companies she's been using to funnel money away. It's infuriating, but I have enough evidence to prove she's been trying to hide her assets. That will definitely work against her in court. I also made a point to confront her directly about her latest lies. She told me she was done with the affair, that she'd never cheat again, but I don't believe her. Her actions speak louder than words. She's still texting Mike, still meeting up with other guys, I'm sure of it. I've caught her in little slips, like leaving her phone unlocked or forgetting to delete certain messages. It's like she's trying to keep her secrets safe, but I'm always one step ahead now. I can't trust her, and I won't let her manipulate me anymore. The emotional toll is huge. Sometimes I feel numb, other times I get overwhelmed with anger and sadness. I keep reminding myself that I have to stay strong for me and the kids. I've been going to therapy, talking through everything, trying to keep my head clear. It's helped a lot, but some nights I lie awake replaying all her lies and betrayals. I wonder if I'll ever fully trust someone again after this. I wonder if I'll ever feel safe. But deep down, I know I have to move forward, no matter how much it hurts. I've also realized that I need to let go of trying to fix her or make her see reason. She's who she is, bitchy, manipulative, selfish, and no amount of arguing or pleading will change that. The only thing I can do now is focus on protecting myself and my kids, making sure I get what I deserve, and moving on with my life. I've come to accept that this chapter might be the worst of my life, but it's also a wake-up call. I've learned so much about trust, greed, and betrayal, and I've learned that I'm stronger than I thought I was. Now, I just have to get through the court hearing. I know Jessica will do everything she can to derail me, to smear my name and to keep the money and house for herself. But I'm prepared. I've got the evidence, the legal support, and the resolve. I refuse to let her destroy what's left of our family or steal my future. I want to rebuild, to heal, and to finally put this nightmare behind me. Whatever happens, I won't let her win. I'll fight for my kids, for my dignity, and for the truth. That's what keeps me going every day, knowing I'm doing the right thing, even if it hurts like hell. The court hearing was intense, and I'll never forget walking into that room feeling like I was stepping into a battlefield. Jessica was there, looking bitchy as ever, throwing her usual fits and trying to act innocent. Everything, her affair, her theft, her attempts to hide assets. She spun her lies about how I was controlling and paranoid, trying to sway the judge with tears and fake outrage. But I had the evidence, texts, recordings, bank statements, and I made sure it all spoke for itself. I knew I was fighting an uphill battle, but I also knew I had the truth on my side. The judge listened carefully, flipping through the evidence I presented. I saw Jessica's face twist in frustration when I about her secret transfers, her affair, and her attempts to manipulate everyone around her. When the judge finally spoke, it was clear she saw through her lies. She ordered the house to be returned to my name, ordered Jessica to pay back the stolen money, and set a schedule for the divorce proceedings. The court also took into account her attempts to hide assets, and I was awarded a significant portion of the inheritance, including the house, which I could now rebuild from. Jessica's reaction was priceless. She looked like a spoiled child caught with her hand in the cookie jar. She tried to argue, to yell, to cry, but the judge wasn't having any of it. She was ordered to vacate the house within a week, and I was given full custody of the kids, with supervised visitation for Jessica. I felt a huge wave of relief wash over me, finally, some justice. But underneath it all, I was still processing the emotional wreckage she'd left behind. After the court, I took a breath outside the building and looked at the sky. I felt exhausted, drained, but also strangely free. Jessica's lies and manipulations had been exposed for everyone to see. Her bitchy attitude and her attempts to spin the story had failed. I knew she'd try to fight back, maybe even appeal, but I was prepared for that. I had the evidence, the legal backing, and a clear plan to move forward. In the weeks that followed, I focused on rebuilding. I moved into the house with the kids, decorated a little, and started creating a new life. I kept the investigation ongoing, making sure Jessica didn't try to hide more assets or run away with the kids. I also made it a point to be there for my children, showing them love, stability, and honesty. Jessica still tried to contact them, still tried to sway their opinion, but I kept the truth front and center. I wanted them to see that their father was fighting for them, that I was trying to give them a safe, honest environment. The financial mess Jessica left behind was complicated but manageable. I hired professionals to untangle her hidden accounts and shell companies. It took time, but I managed to recover most of the stolen money, and I got the house legally back. Jessica's attempts to manipulate the situation fell flat. Her family and friends saw her for who she really was: greedy, manipulative, and untrustworthy. Her reputation took a hit, but honestly, I didn't care anymore. I was finally free from her chaos. Looking back, I realize I've learned a lot. I learned that trust is fragile, and sometimes people hide their true selves behind a pretty face. I learned that greed and betrayal can destroy even the strongest relationships. Most importantly, I learned that I'm stronger than I thought. I survived the worst, and I came out the other side with my dignity intact. My advice to anyone in a similar situation: trust your instincts. Gather evidence early. Don't let anyone manipulate or steal from you. Stand up for yourself even when it feels impossible. Because in the end, the truth always comes out, sometimes painfully, but always eventually. Now I'm focusing on the future. I'm working on healing, on rebuilding my relationship with my kids, and on creating a new life where honesty and integrity matter. Jessica's gone, and honestly, I don't miss her. What I do miss is the sense of security I once had. But I know now that I can rebuild that. I've been through hell, but I've come out stronger, and that's what really matters. Life will throw its punches, but I've learned how to stand my ground. I'll never let someone betray me like that again, and I'll never forget the lessons I've learned from all this chaos.